You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
Alrighty, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and joined as always by your co-host, Kevin. Kevin, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good. Getting to spend another Tuesday night with you. Letting the football season digest here a little bit, right? Like we're getting some news and notes. We'll get into that here in a little bit, but right now I'm enjoying what was, but I am anxiously optimistic about what is to come.
Right. So it should be good, right? There's kind of some news and some notes starting to kind of float out there. Worth keeping an eye on, right? Free agency kind of right around the corner, and we'll go over that here in a little bit. Some guys, making some things be known, and some teams letting some things be known when it comes to some of these players and their availability here coming up. The Dolphins made some moves, right? We got some word that Mike Evans is planning on returning next year, and as well as things have kind of seems like they've kind of fully settled in here and settled down with the coaching carousel, and we may see some final kind of shifting and maneuvering here, but it seems like kind of all the major dominoes have kind of shifted into place. So now it starts looking ahead as teams start positioning and maneuvering players and contracts to either free up some cap space or and try and set themselves up to make moves here in free agency. But any kind of thoughts, any news notes that you want to hit up here before we start diving into some of the free agency side of things?
So I think before we dive in, and maybe as we're diving in, just a reminder, we are opening, or I think was it today, where it opens up the window to be able to franchise tag. So we'll see how that shakes out. A couple names that I think we're trying to figure out how that looks for teams and their cap space. I think one that comes to mind is George Pickens with the Cowboys and what they're going to be able to do. It'd be unlike Jerry to just let George walk with what he did for the Cowboys last year. So I expect them to try and find a way to move some money around and franchise him to keep him around one more year as they continue to, I'm sure, lowball his contract offers, which is just going to set him off. So we'll see how that goes. But kind of a lackluster free agent list made a little bit more exciting today by the Tyreek Hill release by the Miami Dolphins, right? That's kind of the big name that was thrown around. And honestly, it might get a little difficult to try and find a bigger name than Tyreek Hill. But there's already some pontificating going on of where Tyreek goes, right? Does he go back to Kansas City? Does he go to a wide receiver needy team and like the Raiders, right? Just seeing what JSN just did. Raiders have a ton of cap space. They need a wide receiver. So does he go to Vegas and try and play that JSN role, if you will, for Clint Kubiak? I think that is kind of interesting. Obviously, Tennessee, because they have so much cap space, is a player all over the place. But yeah, definitely some names being floated out there. But I mean, it'll be interesting to kind of see where some of these names fall as far as free agents. And so really they're all important and they all kind of, have their place, but we tend to gear towards the players who contribute to fantasy purposes, right? Immediate fantasy purposes.
Right.
So we're looking at guys like Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, technically Travis Kelce, Daniel Jones, David Njoku, Aaron Rodgers. Like that's kind of the top cream of the crop, if you will. And then obviously there's others that will be nice filler pieces and being able to do things there. But when we're talking about, big fantasy relevant names, either historically or recently, that's kind of the list. And then after that, you're looking, you're kind of going down, you're looking at things, you're going, well, is Christian Kirk even that sexy? I don't know. But yeah,
Right.
like Russell Wilson out there technically, Tutu Atwell, De'Ami Brown, Taysom Hill, Dallas Goedert. Who else is on this list? Kyle Pitts. Technically, Kyle Pitts is interesting.
Right.
So I think he should kind of be higher up that list. Even though, again, franchise tag, I expect the Falcons to keep him around after his year last year and to try and give one more shot about what they got. And then what else? Hollywood Brown. That's super exciting. Zach Wilson and Tyrod Taylor. Neither one of those are exciting. Najee Harris, DeAndre Hopkins, Adam Thielen, Austin Eckler. Yeah, I mean, so you get the mixed bag, right? It falls off quickly, as a lot of free agencies do, right? So you have your guys who are going to demand top dollar, but they want a piece to be shuffled, if you will, and for teams to try and improve where they can, whether they're unrestricted free agents or restricted. We'll kind of see how some of this plays out, but there's definitely names that we all know of here in the football community that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. And then there's other guys that we probably don't know as well. And we're just going to have to do a bit of research to see how it helps our team or could become fantasy relevant.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how some of this plays out, right? You mentioned it before, right? The NFL franchise tag window opened today, running through March 3rd. So we'll see how that plays out and what that kind of looks like. The illegal tampering window opens up March 9th and will run to March 11th. And on March 11th is when the New Year League kicks off, and that's when players can officially sign. So, kind of about 3 weeks here. That'll be a kind of a lot of developing storylines that come out to play and come out here, and we'll see who starts meeting with who and what that begins to look like. You mentioned the kind of top free agency names. There's a couple of teams out there that are actively seem like they're actively shopping their quarterbacks out there, with both of these quarterbacks seemingly having kind of played their last game with their organization, and now it's just a matter of, are they traded? Is this a cut and move on? Is this we can reconcile things at the 11th hour and try and run it back again? But right, it seems like the Cardinals are actively shopping Kyler Murray at this point. The Dolphins seemingly actively shopping Tua Tagovailoa, right? And this goes with the Dolphins kind of cleaning house already this offseason, right? They got rid of the general manager, got rid of the head coach. They cut Tyreek Hill earlier this week. Same thing as well, right? They cut Bradley Chubb and James, one of the guards, Daniel James, one of the guards for them, to seemingly try and make some moves and clear up some cap space, and really try and start the rebuild in Miami. So it'll be interesting to see some of these other moves that get made, and who else do we see as potential cap casualties.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of these teams have a lot of work to do. So if we're getting, where'd I go? I'm looking over the cap, right? I know Derek and I were kind of compiling pre-show how some of these can look slightly different, but I'm looking over the cap. But effective cap space. So it's a little choppy at the bottom. So the Chiefs, right? $62 million over the salary cap. So when you're talking about casualties, there's going to be a lot of rework, and I'm sure Patrick Mahomes is going to be at the precipice of this for the Kansas City Chiefs, being that he's due to make like $55 million next year. So seeing what they can do there. But then the Minnesota Vikings, which I was a little surprised by this, honestly, right? Young rookie quarterback. I know they just paid Jefferson, but I think they were really spending towards the Super Bowl this past year, right? They really thought that they were going to be there or take a shot at it, deciding to let Sam Darnold go, coincidentally, and then the guy goes out and wins a Super Bowl.
Right.
So that did not look good, right? That move did not age well in Minnesota. Is the guy that they had in house, and they let him go, and the very next season, he goes and wins a Super Bowl. So that one didn't age well. The Cowboys, which I think is really no surprise. This is the game that Jerry Jones plays, right? He plays chicken, and then he blinks. And because he waits so long, oftentimes he ends up paying more for these players than what he would if he would just come to the table and at least have a more competitive offer to start with, is what we're going to say. But they're 37.5 million over, and then it gets a lot better from there. Then the then the Bills are at 16.4, the Jags are at 15.5, the Lions are at 14.5, the Saints are at 13.5. So these numbers get smaller pretty quickly, right? But you definitely have three teams that they're going to have to figure something out. The Cowboys and the Chiefs have a bunch of that bankroll tied up into their quarterback. Cowboys also have a bunch of it tied up into CeeDee Lamb. But the Vikings are the interesting one, and then after those three teams, it does seem to get better. But definitely some casualties coming this way, because there's no way these teams are going to be able to keep all the guys they have in house being this far over the hard cap that football has, as opposed to baseball or basketball, where there's a luxury tax.
Right. Well, and yeah, it's not only just those teams that are looking to do that. You've got a lot of other teams that may make moves just to free up additional cap space, things like that, right? Like there's some of these other guys that are potential cap casualties, and names are being floating around there, right? And so all speculation at this point, but like Cooper Kupp's a name that pops up through several different types of reports that you read on that one. Who knows? We may see like a restructuring there. L'Jarius Sneed is another one that kind of pops up there, which is an interesting deal, right? Because the Titans are one of the teams that have the most salary cap available, but he does come up there as a potential cap cut because of what his contract is and being able to save some funds there. Kirk Cousins.
They really thought that they got one over on the Chiefs.
Yes, they did.
The Titans did, right? And some players just don't fit well in other systems.
Right.
And some shine well in certain ones, and others they're average. Like this is the downside of either when the coaching staff changes over or a player decides to just get the bag, right? Like and play for the money and not necessarily for the team that drafted him, the team that took a chance on him, developed him, yada yada yada. Putting myself in their shoes, I don't know if there's a right answer. I think every person's situation is slightly different. It's no different than mine or yours or anybody else who's tuning in. But because we're the armchair, right? Armchair quarterbacking, right. It does lead you to scratch your head a little bit and go, these players are making millions, right? Like we are not talking the difference between being on, just being able to make ends meet and then being able to really put some aside for, savings and a rainy day fund and that type of thing. We're talking millions, like regardless. And so, yes, if you have 13 million, of course you want 16 million, like that type of thing. But I mean, when you get to that financial status, I'd love to be able to have a conversation with anybody, right? And truly just ask the question, like, what difference does that make? Other than just being able to say, like, if you're playing for the love of the game, and again, some are and some aren't. Some are playing because they're just good at it and it's a job. Sometimes it's pressure from the Players Association, right? Like this is kind of the unspoken stuff, right? The Players Association does put pressure on certain players in certain position groups where they feel like they need to move the needle. And maybe Snead got caught up in that last year, right? He's a pretty predominant corner, really good corner.
Right.
And him and McDuffie did a great job in Kansas City. And so maybe it was like, hey, we're going to be out there. Here we go. Travion Diggs, right, is a free agent this year. He hasn't played at the all-pro level that he was at 3 years ago.
Right.
But because he has a name power associated with it, he was with Dallas, ended the season with Green Bay after this time with Dallas ended crazy. Like that's a whole crazy story because his buddy got traded, and so he was mad and wanted to go play with his friend. So is he going to take the hometown discount? Is he going to let Parsons play for $43 million a year or $45 million a year, whatever Micah Parsons is making? Is Diggs going to take a deal for $8? Right? Going cornerbacks are 15. Is he going to take a deal for $8 to play with his friend?
Right.
Or is now he going to try and hold that over the Packers? Like all the things. And I know I'm going down a rabbit hole, and we could do a whole 2-hour show on how some of this works and the rabbit trails that we could go down and make sense of. But it's definitely interesting. And as to why we get in these types of situations and why players have success, and then all of a sudden seemingly nothing changes, but in the background everything changes, and then that success goes to mediocrity very quickly.
Right. Well, and it's kind of the same thing we talk about all the time when you see these players get drafted into certain scenarios or certain organizations, and things don't necessarily pan out. They get labeled as a bust. They go somewhere else and they find great success on that. A lot of that has to do with the people around and how the organization's set up and structured, right? Like just like anything else out there. One, it takes a lot of talent to be able to do what they do, and severe, extreme athletic ability to do what it is that they need to do. But the support structure also has to be there to be able to have people go out and compete at their best, right? And so when some of those things change, it's to that point. Also, when some of those things changes, it doesn't necessarily seem like a lot, but it is an absolute difference maker and changes the entire landscape there, right? We can take Sam Darnold, for instance, right? This was a guy that was, seeing ghosts, was labeled a bust, goes to Carolina, loses the starting job there, then comes in and replaces that, but then isn't the guy to be able to be the guy there, and moves on to go be a backup with San Francisco, kind of finds his mojo back being around a support system and a coaching tree that seems to do a pretty good job of developing quarterbacks, and has a system in place to then go on to another guy that seems to do a pretty good job of moving the needle and moving the dial with quarterbacks and doing that, to then go to another organization that has a kind of a storied history around a very good organization for support for and development of the team, right? And like, I'm sure there was a lot of growth and development and all of that along the way for him, but the journey is insane when you kind of stop and think about it. And sometimes it goes in reverse for some of these players, right? Sometimes it isn't that overcoming the adversity and proving all the people wrong. Sometimes it's going to a different scene, and the wheels fall off. So But yes, you're right. We could absolutely dive down this one and probably do an entire 2+ hour show on this one. But kind of getting back to some other potential cap casualties, right? Kirk Cousins is a guy that would be anticipated to be in the market there. And that'll be interesting to see what Kirk does, right? Because Kirk's no longer got the really the seeming value to go out there and demand the Kirk Cousins contracts that he's been able to do throughout his entire career, where he's made an absolute ton along the way. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of Kirk Cousins contract gets conjured up this offseason. And if there's teams, willing to do that, and if he's willing to sign for backup money and be a backup type of thing again at this point in his career. So that'll be interesting to see. Joe Mixon is another guy. Michael Pittman is a guy that the Colts could move on for, because it's about $24 million in potential savings there. Justin Fields, Marshawn Lattimore, TJ Hawkinson, Marlon Humphrey. All of these guys have some pretty good name power and potential teams moving on because of some cap concerns and cap issues there coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just goes to show, right? Like you might get paid, right? And that's what a lot of this is. It's the number that gets flashed across the TV. And it doesn't mean that you're going to get all of it, right? They hide a lot of it in incentives and everything else. So
roster bonuses that you have to be with the team on a certain day, and if the team cuts you the day before, you get nothing. So
yeah, like it doesn't always pan out how it looks on paper. So right. One thing I was just thinking about, right, and this is a long shot, so don't, again, hearsay, whatever, but I was just thinking about, if the Colts, technically Daniel Jones is a free agent right now, right? Yes, he got injured and everything else, but with the success that he had with the Colts organization and them knowing that Anthony Richardson is not the answer, right? You would expect them to be pretty active in trying to get something done with Daniel Jones and or potentially franchise tag, right? That's always a possibility. But man, oh man, if the Vikings weren't strapped in cap hell, wouldn't the Vikings like to bring another guy back that they had in their building,
right,
to try and get the offense going again after a very dismal 2025 season? Like, so many of these free agent quarterbacks are going to be tied to Minnesota, because everybody knows Minnesota needs a quarterback. Like 9, I've seen enough of that. Like, and again, it's not that 9 may not develop into being a good starting quarterback, right? A la Sam Darnold. 9 needs more time to develop. And just sticking him out there, I don't see how that's doing him any good and a service other than you get live reps. But for a team like Minnesota, who really felt like they had a window and had an opportunity to not only get to the playoffs, but really compete and try and make some noise and potentially get into the Super Bowl. Again, it's what they felt like at the beginning of the 2025 season. Going into 26, what's your mindset? Like, do you still feel like you're just a quarterback away, or are you looking at it going, you know what, we need to blow this up? Like, we just can't. So we're going to cut TJ, right? And just deal with Oliver, right? Oliver's on there. Yeah. So deal with Oliver, and we're going to move on from Aaron Jones, and we're going to, just draft youth, and we're just going to try and shore up the offensive line. Maybe we just help protect 9 better, right? And so they focus in on that and sacrifice some other places. But I just, again, the rabbit trails, right, with all this free agency and stuff, and the way that one thing gets you thinking, and then you scurry off over there, just looking at these between the casualties and what teams need and how they're going to react to that, and if they're able to address it appropriately, or if they strike out, right? They just swing and miss. Because remember, that happens too. It happened to the Raiders last year. in the quarterback market. That's how they ended up with Geno.
Mhm.
They didn't want Geno. They swung and missed on everybody and settled on Geno and tried to spin it as this good thing. And it clearly was not.
Right.
I think it helps that they're going to end up with Mendoza.
Right. Talk about I don't know. We'll start getting into the NFL draft and our thoughts on that, but not anyway. The season that was had there, I'm still not convinced that that's a a slam dunk home run number one overall.
Oh, but it sells tickets. If you got enough cap. So again, if you're bringing in any one of the top wide receiver free agents,
right?
Mike Evans, again, Tyreek Hill. I'm not putting Deebo Samuel in that category. I know some people will. I'm not. But you look at that, it's like, okay, so now we have the star receiver to go with the young star tight end, to go with the young star running back. Our offensive line is going to be healthy again. We have this brand new rookie quarterback. It at least sells tickets. And on paper going into the season, it makes them interesting. And you don't look at it going, yeah, this team's going to be, 4-13 again.
Right. Well, and it'll be interesting to see too, right? Because it does seem like Max Crosby is not wanting to return on that one as well. So you've got that would be a big hole on the defensive side to fill up.
Who do you trade him to?
I don't know. Who's willing to?
You got to get him out of the division,
right?
So the Chiefs don't have the cap space. You're not trading him to the Broncos.
No, could you imagine that defense that's just racked up, led the NFL in sacks, season after season, putting a guy like that opposite of Nick Bonito?
Oh yeah, right. It just yeah. So, and that's why I'm curious. Like, what do you do with Max Crosby? Like, how do you work that out? Like the Rams, maybe. Like the Rams, but again, Jared Verse and Max Crosby, like, are you like the good thing is it's outside your conference. Like, I think that's where you have to do it. Like, you're definitely not going division. You probably don't want it in the conference or in your same conference. So then you're looking at like, okay, who has cap space? Who has assets and cap space and everything else? I mean, most of these teams are AFC teams that have all this cap space.
Right.
Seahawks, I don't think he's going to Seahawks. I think the Seahawks like what they have. They're super young, and the pressures kind of come from all over. Like, it'd be interesting. Max Crosby on the Seahawks would be scary, like really scary. But I don't think it happens to the Commanders.
Right.
You ship them all the way across the country, like maybe. Like, I think he instantly helps that defensive line. But again, what are the Commanders going to give up in return? And that's what part of what this is. Like, what could you gather in return? Because Max Crosby's amazing, but if you're the Commanders and you have, what do they have? They have a top 10 pick. Do they? So without having the draft list right in front of me, like, you're not giving up a first rounder. Like,
no.
So it'll be interesting to see how some of this plays out and how they're able to finagle all that.
Right. Some of the that'll be interesting to see. But
he's a difference maker, right? I mean,
right?
There's not many. Let's see here. If we go to our little free agency tracker, right? There's not really difference maker edge rushers.
Yeah, there really isn't. And this is one of those that you could bring him in. This is a guy that you bring in to close out to be that closer on defense, right? A team that is that piece away on the defensive side of the ball that, it's games on the line and you need the defense to come up with a stop. This is the guy that you go out and get to get that critical, sack, to get that critical pressure on the quarterback into making, off time and bad decisions.
Yeah, Trey Hendrickson, difference making, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't put
That-
him anywhere near on the same level though as Max Crosby.
I mean,
We'll see, but I
he's a
don't
little
see those.
dinged up this year, but I mean, if you go back to the 24 season, I mean, he
That's
led
fair,
had more sacks, right? He disrupted the game more statistically.
right?
Again,
Now when you're
Crosby's kind of a different animal, but then you're going like Khalil Mack. Well, Khalil Mack's not real. I mean, he's getting long in the tooth, right?
right
He's
5 years
injured.
ago,
He's not
that's a different
playing
story.
like when he was
10
with the
years ago,
Raiders
that's a
and
different story.
yeah, exactly. Like who else? Hassan Reddick. Yeah, like again, a couple of years ago, maybe Joey Bosa, always injured. Like you like the Bosas, but the Bosas don't stay healthy.
Right.
Leonard Floyd, not on Max Crosby's level
No.
by any means. Gator Gross, Matos. You remember us doing?
Yes.
Man, I remember doing the draft analysis on this guy.
Right.
And I don't know. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say we were wrong. Because none of us projected him to be otherworldly, but I'm not gonna say we're right either. Who else is on here? Like 8.
Yeah, it's a
Key from the Titans, like Von Miller years ago, Cam Jordan years ago.
right.
I'm gonna
Von
tell
Miller
you,
10 years ago, sure. Like
yeah,
right there.
Dante Fowler Jr. A couple years ago, he was relevant, but I think the Cowboys kind of just used him up. Kyle Van Noy, interesting. I think he'd be a better fit other places. As far
Right.
well, I mean, he's a free agent. He's going to go where the hell he wants. But
Another
yeah,
guy though that's getting long in the tooth.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the list. Like it's longer than that, but I'm looking through here. I'm looking for names that we go like, oh, okay, like here we go.
Right.
Brandon Graham, oft injured, and as the Eagles got younger and younger, Graham found himself on the bench more and more because the talent that Philly was drafting, particularly out of Georgia, just by coincidence, but those guys were better, and so he kind of fell off. Yeah, I mean, good edge rushers don't hit free agency. So, what are you willing to pay for Max Crosby? That's what this is all about.
Right.
Knowing that if you have the cap space, I guess you could go after Trey, but monetarily, maybe you save money by going after Max. So, very interesting. Because this list isn't super sexy. Like they're going to try and rotational guys, special teams guys.
Right. Draft somebody and try and bring him along, right? Like see if you can't hit on a 3rd or 4th round guy to bring him along. Like the Nick Bonito special is what I call that maneuver.
Heck yeah.
Although I remember when we were doing the draft analysis on Nick Bonito for that draft, and I do remember somebody saying that this guy was going to be pretty good in the at the next level. So,
absolutely. A little raw, right? But he had a couple years to develop, and that's what you need.
A guy that came into a great system and was able to hone his skills and refine those and develop and the and is now a one of the better pass rushers out there. So, alrighty, we kind of keep going down some of these rabbit hole here. Any other news, notes, free agency you want to chat about tonight?
No, nothing that's going to be earth shattering. Again, we can keep going down the rabbit holes, but for the sake of the show, I'm gonna say no.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and hit up a guess the player tonight, and then we'll call it a day here. Let's take a look here. Alrighty. I've actually got 2 teed up if you're feeling froggy tonight.
All right.
Alrighty. The first player. This player finished top 15 at his position in half-point fantasy points. Very broad clue, but are there any guesses?
No, not yet.
Okay. Clue number 2. He wasn't drafted as an elite option, but ended up being a pretty much being a weekly lock for your lineup.
Parker Washington.
I like the guess, but nope, not there. Clue 3. He had multiple 20-point fantasy game points, but he also had a couple of weeks that just made managers go rage tilts.
What's his name? Sean Tucker, right? The Bucks running back.
I like the guess, but nope, that is not the guy. Clue number 4. His season was primarily fueled by volume, not necessarily big plays.
Breece Hall.
Ooh, I like it. But no, Breece Hall is not correct. Clue number 5. There was a lot of fantasy folks out there on the socials that during part of the season were very much in doubt of this guy, and spent the rest of the time talking about why did we ever doubt this guy. Any clues?
Woody Marks.
I like it, but no, Woody Marks is not correct. I will give a bonus clue on this one. So the bonus clue on this one, it is a running back.
What, 15 volume based. Ashton.
Ooh, I like it, but no, Ashton did not get there. Any final guesses in chat? If you have any guesses, go ahead and throw those out there.
Yeah, there's nothing. This was tough. There's nothing like super distinguishing.
Right. I went a little bit harder this week on some of these with some of these clues, but final
It's
guess.
not DeAndre. We covered that one last week.
Yes,
So
yes, we did by process of elimination.
Right. Our Super Bowl MVP.
Oh, I like the guess, but it is not Kenneth Walker.
I gotta be dancing right around it. I'm not by the finish, like I'm dancing right around where this guy finished.
Yeah, you're kind of dancing there. So are you ready for the answer?
I am. I'm ready for the answer. You got me stumped.
It is Chase Brown.
Ooh.
So
okay.
Yeah, this was a guy that ended up finishing running back number 8 in half-point PPR. Had got there on volume, right? Was 132 carries, 88 targets on this one, and had a predominantly receiving type of role in there as well, with 69 receptions. Definitely had some spike weeks and a few mad weeks, right? Like there was some of those
3 weeks of the season, right?
Yeah,
trying to trade him away. 4 weeks of the season.
Weeks 2 through 6, you were pulling your hair out, going, "Oh my gosh, like this guy is single-handedly going to tank my roster on this one," and then became very productive, especially down the stretch, right? When week 17 for championship week was running back 3 overall. Week 16 semifinals with number 2. Right, had several top 10 finishes kind of along the way as well. So you certainly managed to get there.
Tried buying low on him in the home league, and I just could not get the deal done.
Right. So yeah, it was a tough one.
That's a good one. Okay.
Yeah, I tried making a deal for him as well and just couldn't seem to make it happen. So anyway, so went a little harder that one. I do have another one. This one is I will say this one is not an easy one either, but let me know when ready for the first clue.
All right, let's go.
Okay. So, clue number 1. This player finished top 20 at his position in half point PPR, but never really felt like a stud at the position.
Stephon Diggs.
I like it, but no, that is incorrect.
Okay.
Had 1,000 plus yards rushing, but was not a top tier touchdown scorer.
Shit. Okay, so now we know we're in running backs.
Yep, we got there a little quicker this time.
Got there a little quicker this time. Okay, I hear this. Say the question again. Sorry. 1,000 yards rushing, but not a lot of touchdowns. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yep. 1,000 yards, had over 1,000 yards rushing, but was not a top tier touchdown scorer.
We're going back to Genty.
I like it, but that is incorrect.
Okay.
Clue number 3. Caught around 40 passes, meaning that he stayed somewhat fantasy relevant without being a target monster in the out of the backfield.
Charbonnet.
I like it, but that is not correct. Clue number 4. He had enough weekly volume to keep him in ceilings, but it was a little bit boom bust with this player as well.
Henderson.
I like it, but no, that is not correct. This one here for clue 5 was kind of a gross flex option that just managed to kind of keep working.
Woody Marks.
I like it, but was not Woody Marks.
Damn it.
I will give a bonus clue on this one. This player was a waiver wire warrior at one point in the season, and was really not drafted in most formats. I like it, but no, it was not Kenneth Gainwell. But I like the thought and where you're going. Are you ready for the answer?
Waiver wire warrior. Drafted. Leads me back to Sean Tucker, but I don't think that's it.
It was not Sean Tucker.
Yeah, dang it. Okay.
It was Rico Dwaddle.
Looker. That makes total sense.
Right? Like, that was one of those that for like a few weeks there, like, he was the waiver wire darling that you picked up after Chuba Hubbard went down. He and Chuba managed to split that backfield just enough that he had the weekly volume that you put him in there as that flex play. Wasn't super sexy while he was doing it, but it just managed to get the job done for you. Let's see what other clues. Had over 1,000 yards, caught 39 passes, so right around that 40. And certainly that waiver wire warrior that came in when you picked him up on week 5, going into week 5, and then managed to have that week 5, week 6 where just back-to-back dominant weeks, and the week 9 against Green Bay, again another dominant week, and so managed to get it done, but there was a lot of peaks and valleys, and it was a ride for sure.
Another free agent this year.
Right. So I also managed to come up with 2 this week that I don't think were on your home league fantasy roster last year. That had been a theme before where it seemed like we we managed to be putting on a few of those. So, alrighty. Well, I think that's going to take us down here to the end of it. Any final thoughts out there for the viewers and listeners?
No, thanks for tuning in. Obviously, we'll see what we have for news and notes here in the upcoming week. Whether it's maybe some franchise tag movement, maybe we start to see some more cap casualties, or at least have the idea of how this is going to start playing out. We'll see. But there are some decisions that have to be made only because how the roster bonuses work, right? Like if they're on the roster come the beginning of the league new year, some players get guaranteed money, and other cases you'll see that players are going to be basically designated a post June 1 cut, but typically that doesn't happen until April after the draft. So we'll see how it picks up here. But other than that, we'll start getting into positional breakdowns here. We'll start working on draft boards, draft analysis, if you will, because the combine, pro days, all that good stuff is coming up. So we'll definitely get some good news and notes from that, if nothing else, just to celebrate the Underwear Olympics.
Right. Yeah, the combine starts here next week on the 23rd. So we'll start getting a lot of those info coming up here as well, and we'll start getting that breakdown going there too. So should be a lot of fun and should be interesting. But that's going to do it for us tonight. You can find us on all the socials: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Good Old Boys FF. I'll be sure to hit that like, subscribe button wherever you're watching or listening to this. I certainly do appreciate that. But that's going to do it for us tonight. He's Kevin. I'm Derek. Have a good one. Be safe. Toodaloo.